Hi, good afternoon. So sorry about that. Yeah. So I was done a brief introduction and yeah, okay. My name is Amanda. It's nice to be here. So I'll be looking into the legal aspect of production, but streamlining it down to YouTube content. A little bit about myself. I'm an entertainment lawyer. I've been in this space for close to 10 years. I previously used to work with Ebony Life, although currently I'm in music space. I used to work with Ebony Life. So anything exciting you've seen in Ebony Life since 2020, my name is on it. I'm honored to have worked on it. So before the slides come on, a few parts of the topics I'll be touching on will be intellectual property, which is like one of the most important aspect of content creation, because you don't create something that you're not going to own or you're not going to be able to exploit and monetize. So that is the entire, to an extent, I would say the entire bedrock of the film industry, understanding the intellectual property. And when it comes to intellectual property and the entertainment space or the movie space, there are two areas particularly you're going to be looking at, and that's copyright and trademark. Now, generally, there are four aspects of intellectual property. I'll try my best not to be too legal or lawyer. But just on the basis aspect, there are four areas of intellectual property. We have copyright, we have trademark, we have industrial designs, and we have patents. Now, industrial design and patent has to do more with the tech and the fashion. It doesn't really interfere so much in the entertainment or in the film industry. So in the film industry, the core parts you're going to deal with is copyright and trademark. Now, apart from intellectual property, you'll also be looking into chain of titles. I know when Moyowa communicated to me, he said contracts. But for you to look at contracts, the essence of having a contract or having contracts in the film industry is to establish what we call a chain of title, because that is how you can structure who owns the production, because there's a lot of moving parts. So we're going to be looking a bit into chain of title, why shining more light on the contracts you need in the film industry. Then we'll be looking at some particular aspects of, like I say, legal aspects of the film industry, like licensing, like defamation, what you said about doing something or sharing a story or making a production that tomorrow police will come and carry your censor board, will not allow or will not give you censorship for one reason or the other. So we'll be looking at that. And we'll also be looking at, are we good? Yeah. Okay, we'll also be looking at advertisements, or what's, I'll say advertisement, but the most popular one we all know is product placement, but advertisements. So those are like the core areas that we're going to be looking at in this workshop. So you can come. Okay. So I can just mute and stop this side. Yeah. Okay. Okay, can you see the slide I'm sharing? If you can see, you can just drop a yes in the chat box. I don't believe that we all can see it. Okay. So, yeah, we're just going to run through from the first aspect. So like I said, we're looking at intellectual property rights and laws, chain of title and contracts, and legal aspects and issues in the film industry. So like I earlier said, when it comes to the intellectual property laws and rights in the film industry, you're particularly going to be dealing with copyright and trademark. Now, the basic legislation or the laws that we have for it is the Copyright Act 2023 and the Trademarks Act. Copyright basically has to do with protecting the creative work itself, the film, the music, the script, everything that you're creating. That's what copyright protects. Why trademark protects your brand. So let's say, for example, if Film One now has built a brand around themselves, they can decide to trademark the name Film One. So that is their way of trying to protect the brand. Ruth Kadiri is very popular on YouTube. She can decide to trademark Ruth Kadiri 247 because that's a brand name. So that's what trademark has to do. Why copyright is the one you deal with every single day. So copyright is automatic. Immediately you create it, at first it's something new, it's something original, you already have that copyright protection. But it's always advisable to take the extra step of registering your copyright. Now, in an everyday production or in a YouTube production, you have the copyright of the script. I think that's one of the most important parts. And then you have the copyright of the production itself. Now, those are two coexisting copyrights. They don't fuse together. The script is on its own. The production, which is an adaptation of the film, but an adaptation of the script. But okay, sorry, they can't see the slide from Benin.
Can I see it now?
Is it any better? Can you guys see it now?
You need to share the PowerPoint.
Yes. All right.
We can see it now.
Yes, we can see it.
Let us know when you can see the slide.
When you can see the slide, just indicate, please.
We can see it now.
Okay, I think we can see it now.
Can we all see the slide?
Yes.
Okay.
But you
All
need
right.
click on F5 so that we
Okay,
can
so okay. Can you guys see the slide, please?
we can see the slide,
Benin
but
guys
not
that complained initially. Can you see the slides now?
If you can see the slide, please just wave your hands. Okay, you can see it. All right.
Okay. So as I was saying, when it comes to copyright, like I said, the script and the production itself. So those are two coexisting copyright. So copyright is automatic. I already said that you can take the extra step of registering. Now, the idea or the reason why that exists or why you should do that is that by law, upon you creating that work upon you shooting that movie, making that script, only you is supposed to have, or you're the only one that's supposed to have the exclusive right to use, to exploit, to edit, to do whatever you want to do. So if you ensure that your copyright is protected, that's when you can give the likes of YouTube, the likes of Netflix, the likes of the big guys in the production industry the right to either adapt your script or to show your movie. So that copyright is exclusive rights that you have to the production that you have. Just to repeat some things I already said earlier, it's automatic upon you creating it, upon you finishing your production, you're done with your post-production, your movie is out, you already have the protection of copyright, but you can take the extra step of applying. Now, mind you, copyright lasts for a long time after your death. So it's something that you're going to enjoy if you properly protected and it's something that your estate can enjoy. The same way you pass down lands, you can pass down your copyright for someone to keep enjoying the money in it. That's why sometimes you can see, okay, another very important aspect or reason why you should protect your intellectual property, your copyright now is that we had the remake of Living in Bondage. Now, if the original makers of Living in Bondage, I can't tell you that I know details of detail, but if the original owners of Living in Bondage do not properly protect themselves, when they want to create Living in Bondage, they're not going to make any money from it. Nobody's going to talk to them. It'll be like they don't exist. They'll just go and make it. Now, in the American scene, we have a lot of sequels and remakes of all the movies. Now, one thing that you should be sure of is that all the people that created the former movies or the producers are eating big. It might be a one-time payment, it might be royalties, which is money that you get over time as that movie or that production is being aired. We have Annie. Annie was a remake of an original movie. The original creators, you're sure that they're taken care of. So that's why it's always important for you to ensure that you protect your intellectual property. Now, aside from trademark, okay, I already talked about copyright. Trademark, you have to register your trademark. It's not automatic. If you want to protect your brand, if you're intentional about branding, you have to register your trademark. Trademark lasts for the first time 7 years, and after 7 years, you have to renew for another 14 years, and then you keep renewing like that. That's how trademark works. But the idea of trademark is that nobody can use, let's say, for example, now you trademark Ruth Kadiri. If anybody wants to use Ruth Kadiri in anything that has a commercial value to it, wants to use it in an advert, wants to say it anywhere, the person has to pay Ruth Kadiri. But in a normal day, if you don't protect your trademark like that, anybody won't be able. Okay, let me use a practical example. We saw when that was Sabino's. I'm trying to remember the exact catchphrase that Gala and I think Pick Me Up or one of these brands used. Was a picture that they used exactly. If a trademark was not in place, although that one had to do with his personality, but then just too funny to had something similar with some of those catchphrases. So they register it when the likes of all these brands now want to use that catchphrase to market their product. They have to pay those people for them to use the catchphrase. So all of that, it also pertains also to the film industry. We have a lot of people that try to protect their name. You cannot just say their name anyhow in any commercial space without them any monies from it. So for copyright, one of the basic ways, if you're not going to register your copyright, one of the most important things you have to do to establish the ownership of your copyright is chain of titles. So like I said, chain of titles is basically how you establish ownership and control of rights embedded in productions. So when it comes to chain of title, I don't know if any of you have ever tried to search, maybe you want to buy land and you go to land's office, registry to do any search. They'll tell you they want to search, check if the title is good. And when you search, there's like a track record of everybody that owned the land up to the point you want to buy it. So for chain of titles, there are different parts there are different moving parts that contribute to your production. You have the light guys, you have the costumier, you have the production designers, you have the producers, you have the camera guys, you have the actors, you have the script writers. All of this will come together, different elements to make what the final production is. Now, mind you, each person that contributes to your production owns their intellectual property. The actors own their intellectual property, the crew members, the music, the artwork, everything. So if you don't ensure that there's paperwork transferring rights in those things over to you, you cannot establish a chain of title. So let's just say you go out and you just shoot a movie. You shoot it in this space. Now in this space, you have this a very technique. You can't shoot here, first of all. There's like US emblem. Let's leave this place. But you go somewhere to shoot and have a lot of artworks. You have people walking about. It might not even be your actors. It might be waka pass people that will just pass. You finish shooting and all of that, and you take the movie and put on YouTube. Now, what happens is, let's just say that one of the people that just passed, that you captured, that you didn't give a release form to sign, or you didn't blow out their face, or you didn't try to take one editing decision to make it unclear or for them not to be recognizable, that person can go and decide to sue you for breach of privacy. You did not clear with me that I'm going to show on this production. The person can come with, oh, I'm a religious person, I can't be tied to this type of production and all of that. That's why it's necessary to ensure that those parts are clear. That's one. Two, if you now want to, I'm not so sure how the YouTube ownership part works, but let's just say you put your movie now on YouTube, and let's say there's an artwork or there's a music that isn't properly clear. It just takes them reporting, they flag your movie and maybe take it down to you guys resolve whatever I want to resolve. But let's just move away from YouTube and go to the likes of Netflix now. You cannot put your movie on any streaming platform if you cannot establish chain of title, if you cannot establish that you own it, if they are not sure that, if they're not 100% sure that if they put this movie on their platform, what camera guy or the fashion person or makeup or hair, or even the guys that place products on your production, or the artwork guys, that nobody's going to sue them and say, oh, this wasn't cleared, because everybody owns their rights involved. So you use paperwork, for example, your cast agreement, you have to ensure that in your cast agreement there's a clause saying, I'm transferring all the rights I have in this production over to you. I'm also assigning and giving the permission to show myself and my likeness, use my name, use myself, show me in any platform and in any media for any amount of time you want to do. Maybe make a caricature of me, do whatever. You have to ensure that is that covered so that you don't have any issue, because sometimes you never can tell yourself what that production is going to turn out to be. For the artworks, if you have any artworks, you need release forms. First of all, release forms are one of the very important aspects of your production. You have a location you're going to, you have to ensure that they sign a release form, because you don't want a situation where tomorrow Evercare will come and tell you, I didn't permit you to show my name, and then you show their name. And maybe you didn't even show their name in the aspect of, because when you're shooting in Lagos and you're shooting outside, there's a way you shoot that you're covered under the normal filming permits that you collect for you to shoot. But there's a way you shoot and you're specifically focusing on Evercare. If you don't have a release form with Evercare, Evercare can come and flag that production to go down, because they don't want to have anything to do with you, or you are not properly informed. It might not be in the long run, you can give them a release form and they sign and they're fine with it. But in that immediate time, because things are not done the right way, they'll get or have issues. So these are little reasons why you have to ensure that your contracts are intact. So I know sometimes people say, oh, legal lawyers are expensive and all of that, but I think you can find one that fits your pockets. Now, for the aspect of story, like I said, the script is another very important part. A writer can come out tomorrow and say, oh, you did not take permission, I was not paid, I expected this, I expected that. That's another thing or reason why you should have contracts. Let everybody know that maybe payment you pay them upfront is enough. Whatever YouTube is paying me, I'm not supposed to share with you. All of that. So you have one reason for having contracts being establishing chain of title. So tomorrow, like I said, copyright lasts for a long time. Even if you're not around, even if it's your estate that is to defend you, they can bring out paperwork, they can bring out evidence to show everybody involved in this production actually transferred their rights in perpetuity. And for this production to be shown in any media, whether already created or hereinafter created. That is the extent of what your intellectual property clause is supposed to look like in the contracts. Do you get? So I mentioned chain of title. Another reason why you're supposed to have your contract, just to ensure that a lot of people have expectation for profit participation. That at the end of the day, because I acted in this film, maybe on normal I would have charged the person 2 million and I charged the person 800K. That means I'm expecting the person to give me 10% of their income. You reduce all those issues. Now, another very important part is the third-party clearance. Now, I've talked about chain of titles, which is ownership. Third-party clearance is now the music, the artwork. He said, Maiwa said something about sometimes you can receive income from your YouTube and you have to share it with other people. So if you're creating a music, or if you're going to use music in your production, if you don't clear that music, certain things like that can happen. Some publishers, some record labels, some executives might not be key to take your content down, but they will inform YouTube that, okay, you don't have the right to use this, so they'll be taking a percentage of your income, just that it covers the aspect of you using their music. If not, they outrightly take it out. So you have the music, you have the location, you have the artwork that you're going to use. You have to ensure that all those third-party clearance, all those third-party rights that you don't own, you do not employ the person directly to create those services or create those products for you. You have to ensure that the rights in them are transferred. So there are different contracts that you need. I don't think as filmmakers, in as much as you're supposed to know the different stages of production and the contracts you need, it's not something that you're supposed to burden yourself with. It's something that you're supposed to have the right team to help you provide those paperwork. But just know that when you come to pre-production, you have a writer, you have a producer, you have a director, you have a story contributor. Everybody involved needs a contract. You come to production, your cast, your crew, even down to assistants on set, even down to medic, that you might think, oh, what is medic contributing? Everybody needs a contract on set. You have to ensure that all the equipment you're using, you have an agreement that is renting you have equipment rental agreement. When you come to post-production, which is a very, very important part, everybody editing, because they might not exactly say, oh, they acted or they shot, but they contributed their editing styles, which is also the intellectual property. So everybody involved in post-production also have to have agreements. So just ensure that you have the right team that you're working with. Over to next, which is legal issues. I'll try to just touch. They gave me three legal issues to touch on. During the question and answer, if there are other parts that we didn't touch on that you want to know about, feel free to ask questions and I'll answer. But the first one is defamation. So defamation is literally you, in a layman terms, is you saying something or portraying something or publishing something that will tarnish the reputation of another person. So it could be, and for you to tarnish the image of a person, that means it's not totally true. It's not something that is out there. It's probably something that you fabricated or something that you thought about. So you have the slander, you have the libel. The difference between the two, libel, the difference between the two is one is published and one is spoken words. But either ways, all of these can still play different roles in your film production. It could be your script, it could be the way you tell a story. Maybe, for example, we had the what's the name of this Jadis movie that came on Prime? The first Gangs of Lagos, the whole masquerade thing. It changed the landscape of filmmaking, especially when it comes to you obtaining film permits to dates, because they didn't like how it was portrayed. Now, they might not have gone for a defamation case because maybe they looked at it deeply. If they go for it, maybe there are some atoms of truth in what she portrayed. It's not something they want to open up. But then what that did was, if you want to take filming permit currently in Lagos State, you have to submit your script, a summary of your script or your Bible for them to see what you want to act out before they give you your filming permit, which used to be so before. Before you want filming permit, you just tell them how many days you're shooting, summary of what your film is going to be about. If you're shooting in Lagos or outside Lagos, how many crew are going to have on set, and you have a filming permit. Very straightforward. But now they want to know. Now, something like that, it could be the way normal issue. There's a way you talk about police in Nigeria or in movies. You might have issue with censorship. Do you get? I have those guys that will act or produce those kind of movies and they can't distribute it in Nigeria. They have to now go to festivals because in their way they're telling their stories from their own standpoint, but police is going to see it as defamation, as though there is not true. Do you get? So it could be different things. It could be in your storytelling. It could not be in your reputation, things, normal film business, things you say about other people, conducts and all of that. What you should know is that defamation is not treated lightly in the legal system. It's something that if eventually someone wants to make a pursuit, then it can land you in big trouble. So it could be an innocent mistake. It could be you telling your story, you shooting and doing your thing from the point of your understanding. So it should just help, for example, when, let's say there are certain deals that involve international studio and they're writing a story about Nigeria. Now, what they do is that they hire what we call story consultants from Nigeria just to give it that Nigerian feel. They'll tell you just to give that Nigerian feel, but also they don't tell a story that is not true, that is not relatable, or that is different or in any way defame the Nigerian character. Now, it's not everybody. We have productions where it seems like they've portrayed African in the bad light, but those who are key on selling their production in Nigeria will always involve a story consultant from Nigeria just to help with the story. So it's something like that that you could do just to avoid any issue of defamation. The second thing is advertisement. Like I said, I think the most popular type of advertisement you have in the production or in the film industry currently is product placement. Now, for you to get funding for your production is there are different ways it can come through. It can come through as an integral part of your script. It can come through as just laying around on your set. It can come through in your branding when it Okay. Okay.
Just confirm that.
Can you hear me? Sorry, you just had a little network issue. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Yes. So I was talking about advertisement. Now, advertisement is the most popular way of advertising in the film industry and the content creation industry is through product placement. And like I said, the product placement can come in different ways. We have a lot of all of these kits that Mr. Macaroni and most of these guys make, where when you watch at the end of the day, you realize that they're trying to push a brand. That is when you integrate the product placement to your storyline. So that's a form of advertisement, but from the beginning, don't make it so obvious. It's like it's a skit, it's a production, it's a film, but they play a role. So when it comes to larger scale of production, it could be you talking about transfer and saying, oh yes, I use UBA, like they're the fastest, they're the best. Do you know they're here and here? That's an advertisement, but it's been integrated into the script, not to make it look weird or forced. Another aspect could be just keeping around things, placing around things around. So it could be you shooting your content in a restaurant and you're trying to show off the restaurant. You're trying to show how beautiful inside of the restaurant is, the name of the restaurant and all of that. That's a form of advertisement. That is a form of you raising money either for your production or for your own personal pocket. So a few things that you need to note in when it comes to the idea or the aspect of product placement is that you have to ensure that there's a contract. The reason why you have to ensure there's a contract is that there's value being exchanged. So you that is doing what you're doing, the party or the client or the person that owns the product have to be aware. There need to be a clear understanding as to what you're doing. Am I integrating this into my script? Am I using it to brand? For example, when I eventually want to market that skit or market that production, I probably maybe the cup or the advert or the material I'm going to use, I'm going to write it as sponsored or proudly done this by this brand. Am I going to make extra skits or extra production, extra whatever for them to push their advertisement or their product? So all of that are expectations from you. Now you also have to streamline what your expectation is from the product owners. Are they sponsoring the skit or the production? Are they giving you extra money? Are they paying for further productions or further scripts? Are they handling one thing or the other? Just clarity on it. And sometimes, depending on how much they invest in it, some of them want cash back, especially if their product is not a product that you can see, if it's more like a service. For example, let's say Wakana now. Wakana doesn't have a product that you can see, but they have a service that they provide. So Wakana can come, the same thing with the One Experts and all of these guys. I'm not saying that's what they do, but I'm saying they can decide to come now and tell you, okay, because of the fact that maybe our measurable numbers to know how effective this advertisement or this product placement we did was, we're expecting this number of people to sign up. We're expecting this number of followers for us to get this number of followers. All those expectations, some of them will now have the expectation of, oh, I invested 10 million, or I told you I was going to do this. I need to ensure that I get that monetary value back, either in cash back from the clients, cash back from you as a producer, or cash back from the value they are going to get. So you have to be clear on all those things, because tomorrow there could be an issue. It could be, oh, when you guys were discussing as guys, as friends, people agree that, oh, the reason why I'm doing this because I want to grow my followers to 1 million. And then tomorrow they'll be like, oh, at the same time, I had a conversation that I needed to sign up 300 people, or we needed to get 300 people to sign up to our newsletter or to our website and all of that. All those are passive conversations, but when you have an agreement, it's easy to streamline what the expectation from this product placement and this advertisement, as well as the timeline, if they are giving you money, if you're doing anything for them, the timeline which all of this is supposed to be done. The third aspect that I'm going to be touching on is licensing. Now I'm going to touch on licensing from different aspects, from aspect of you licensing your content and also licensing content for your production or for your skits. So starting with licensing your content. Remember at the beginning, I talked about copyright, which is what protects your creative work. Now, part of the exclusive right you have is the right to give someone the permission to use your skits, your production, whatever it is that you've created, your script or whatever. So that form of licensing is now you giving permission. It's you saying, okay, I'm giving you to the permission When you sign up and put your product or your skit or your production on YouTube, that's simply a licensing. That is you giving YouTube the permission to show this for monetary gain. YouTube will take their cut, you take your cut, everybody's happy. When you take your production or your skit or whatever you put on a streaming platform, you put in the cinema, all of those are part of licensing because you alone have the exclusive right to exploit. The moment you pass that right to someone else to do that, either on your behalf or for their sake, that is licensing. Now, on the aspect of you licensing content for your production, you have what I mentioned initially, the music, the artwork. Those are one of the most important, or rather, let's say, the most common third-party materials that people use. There's no way you can watch a movie or you can watch a script and you don't, sorry, watch a skit and you don't hear music in it. That's why the whole Gong issue was like a big legal issue. Everyone was asking, oh, does he have permission to do this? And truthfully, a lot of skit makers don't know that they need to take permission to use people's music in their production. Now, you taking permission to use the music might be as little as sending an email to the person and say, oh, hey, I like this song. I want to put it. The reason for me putting this, if this person is a small artist, is to push this music, is for people to remember this music. I like it. I want to spotlight it. It doesn't, that alone is you taking permission from the person. But the moment you do it without speaking to the person, you're breaching the person's right to exploit or the exclusive right to enjoy their work. And it becomes an issue, becomes a copyright infringement at that point. So the music you use, whether the person is your friend, the moment you turn to that friend and shake their hand and like, oh, I'm going to put your music in this, is licensing. Now, the difference is that you have to ensure that a license is always documented, depending on how big the production is. I would advise anybody into skits or ensure that they have documentation. But just in case, I know skits most times are fast-paced released products. Unlike production that maybe you can have like a month break, a year break, a week break. Skits most times are like days apart. So I get you're working with a huge number, a large, like say deliverables. You might not have the possibility of collecting paperwork for each person. But something as easy as sending an email, sending a WhatsApp message to either the artist or the record label involved, just for the sake of covering the angle of licensing. Like I said, you also have the artwork. If you're going to portray, there's a way you're going to shoot in, let's say you want to make a skit now, you want to shoot in a gallery. I want to avoid issues that has to do with like artwork. You can decide to glance through, just have the camera roll through, just establish the fact that your set is a gallery. The primary place of shoot is a gallery. But there's a way you're going to shoot it that you start drawing into each of the artwork. The moment you start doing that, you have to take permission from the person that owns the artwork. Not from the person's house that you're shooting on or the person that owns the gallery, because most times, or in all cases, buying of an artwork doesn't transfer rights. So it might be you taking permission from the original person. Although, as will I say, let me just give you like a loophole. Most times when you do your release forms or you want to take permission for location, it's always advisable to include artwork and everything within what you're taking permission for, so that it's no longer your burden, it becomes the burden of the person. But you have to ensure, I think the long and short I'm trying to say is that any material that you're using in your skit, in your production, that doesn't belong to you, you have to ensure that you collect or you obtain license from the person that owns the artwork before you can use it. Now, the last aspect that I'm going to touch on before I move over to ownership of content and protection. Last aspect I'm going to talk about is censorship. I know within the last couple of months, I think from the beginning of this year, Censor Board, our beloved film and video censor board, decided to look skit makers into those that need to take permission before certain things are portrayed and need to be within. Usually the censor board is more strict with people making larger productions, making a film, a feature film, a series. But now they've decided to start looking into skit makers. Maybe because of the fact that they see that you guys are making a lot of money and they want a share of it. But basically, there are certain things that you cannot portray. And this includes, they don't want portrayal of, just to mention a few, portrayal of No, it's not even police. It's more of sexual acts. Anything that is not, thank you, child abuse, drinking, smoking. Not really, when you come to religion, not religion as a whole, but more of ritualists, the whole blood money thing and all of that. It might be a true story that we're trying to tell, but from their own end, they're saying that these materials that we're creating is being exported outside Nigeria. So it's putting Nigeria in a bad light, as if most of our boys are all about Yahoo, Yahoo, and all those things. So they are cracking down and they're saying, if you're going to shoot about it, it should be something that is going to lead to the path of a good light, not glorifying it more like. So all of that, they're still looking down, they're still looking into what skit makers make. I don't know if it will ever come to a point they start insisting on censorship. I don't think it's going to be practical for them because there's large material they're going to deal with, but it's just necessary. Now it's possible that you shoot anything you want to shoot. Let's say the beautiful thing about the legal aspect of the film industry content creation is that you can stay in the industry for like 15 years, 10 years and not have any issue at all. And you're not even being careful. Maybe you're using other people's song, you're doing whatever. It takes one day and it just cracks down on everything that you've done. Do you get? So it's just necessary for you to be that careful. It's necessary for you to just abide by those regulations that already present themselves. Okay, so moving over to ownership of content and protection. Now, most of these will be for people that are into film production, but if you're into skits, there's one or two things that you can also pick up from it. For you to fully own a product, for you to fully own a content, a production, there are three ways I would say that you can own it. Number one is through you creating it, and which is established and structured by the chain of titles that I already mentioned earlier. Secondly, could be you funding or financing it. Now, with the whole rise of YouTube movies, I don't know whether any of you have noticed that some of the movies that you're seeing now is not just the person that owns the channel that their logos get to be shown. They are not the executive producers sometimes, or they are not the solo executive producers. Why? Because some people have realized that a few people have cracked the code of, if my movie hits YouTube within 2 days or 3 days, I have 1 million views. So instead of me trying to figure it out, I'd rather take my money and invest in your business. So that is production financing. I might look at it and I realize that, oh, skit makers are actually making a lot of money. They're making a lot of money from YouTube. They're making a lot of money from TikTok. They're making a lot of money from Facebook. Instead of me trying to be a skit maker, I'll find a skit maker and say, you know what, every month I'm going to be injecting 10 million. And this is my expectation. Maybe across border, we're going to be sharing 50-50. Now, from sharing profit, it could be, oh, these productions that you're putting out, I'm going to own a part of it. That way, you're not creating anything yourself, but your funds are buying your way into you owning a bit of something. The third way you can also own is through collaboration, SPV, and co-production. Now, SPV is more for the film production people, that special purpose vehicle. It's like partnership. It's like when you own a production company, I own a production company, we come together to make a movie. Now, what the company that we've co-owned now is what we own that movie. That's another way I can own the production. You have collaboration where two skit makers come together to create something. Maybe individually we don't hit large numbers, but if we come together, we are beloved. So we can decide to go on. It's just like, I think when Craze Clan started initially, there was Craze Clan and Tega before they broke out and they started doing their individual stuff. They grew together as a brand. That's a collaboration. That way it's possible. Now again, I'm not privy to the information of what their deal looks like, but it's possible that all the productions that were made, all the skits that were made during that Craze Clown's time with Tega, they co-own it. So that way both of them are owning the production. And the last one is co-production. Co-production can also play a role in skit makers and mainly for the film production guys. Co-production is basically when two companies come together. They're not creating any, they're not forming a company, they're not partnering to do anything long term, they're just collaborating to create a content. So co-production, you contribute your part, I contribute my part. Another aspect we can see co-production in, I can define or I can pick one in the skit making world, could be what Idem Victor does. I've never seen him in any of his skits, but he has a lot of skits. So it could be something similar to that, where he owns the production, or he's the one that's probably coming up with the original ideas, and he employs people. Now there are certain people that he's going to employ. For example, the skit that has to do with maybe Macaroni, Lasisi, Craze Clown, all those big names that he knows that will hold the essence of that production. It's possible that it's a co-production. But I'm using that example as someone that himself is not a skit maker, but he has a brand that is within and makes money from content creation and skit making. So those are ways that you can own content within, or you're sure of owning content within content creation and within skit making. Now, for the part of protection, it takes us back to copyright. You're still ensuring that either your paperwork is intact, you're taking the extra step to register it. Nowadays, we have the putting your logo. It hasn't stopped the TikTok people, but we are doing that to see what we can do. But where you have, for example, you're watching a movie, you see the Maurice Sam clearly stated on his production, you're watching a skit, you see their names. Those are ways. They're not putting it just because they like to see their name on screen. They're trying to protect the content that they have. So no matter where it lands tomorrow, before you can take out that name, you have to distort production, or you distort what you're watching. So you have to, if you're going to pirate, you pirate with the name there. So no matter where it gets to, they are clear, or anybody watching is clear that they own it. So that's their own way of protecting it. I think with that, we've come to the end of the section. I hope it wasn't a lot, and I hope it wasn't too legal and technical. If you have any questions, it wasn't, right?
No, it wasn't.
Okay, if you have any questions, please come with it. And like I said, it mustn't be within what we discussed. It could be something that you already had in mind, maybe an experience that you've had, an experience someone had, but we didn't touch on during the workshop. Whatever it is, just come with your questions and I will do my best to answer.
I have a question. So you said that putting content on YouTube automatically means you've licensed it
to YouTube.
Yes. Does that mean that there's no need to do any more paperwork?
So the moment you sign up to YouTube, there's terms of use you can agree to. That is YouTube's own paperwork. So you don't need to give them a paperwork. Their own part, they're just ensuring that for you to say, yes, I want to put my product here, you're giving them the right to monetize it. And that's why you watch productions or skits on YouTube and there are adverts in between. On a normal day, nobody has the right to cut your production in between, but you're giving them the right, because they have to do whatever they can do to exploit it and make money from it, so they can pay you and they can make money too. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Amanda. So we'd like to take questions from our spaces. I can see a virtual hand raised up in Calabar. Calabar, you can unmute and ask your question.
Good day. Thanks for the amazing session. My question goes this way. As an upcoming producer, how do you copyright your production? I need procedural highlights.
If anyone is speaking, but we can't hear you.
As an upcoming producer, as an upcoming movie producer, what are the steps and procedures in copywriting your production?
Like, isn't it just best if they drop the questions in the box?
Lucky, can you hear us? Hello? Amanda, are you with us? Okay, Calabar, can you chat the question? It seems she cannot hear you.
Is anyone saying anything? Because we can't hear. So let me know where the audio
okay.
is coming from.
Mayowa, we can hear you.
Someone's talking. Nobody's talking.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
In the meantime, I think you can just drop your questions in the box while we try to figure out what's going on with the audio. So you can just type out your questions in the chat box, please.
American Corner Ikeja. Can you type?
You can hear now.
Bauchi. Okay, you can hear us now.
You can hear now.
Okay, Calabar, you can ask your question again. Or mute and ask your question.
As an upcoming movie producer, what are the steps in copywriting your production?
Sorry,
got
I
the
didn't
question.
hear you. Please, can you text again?
As an upcoming movie producer, what are the steps in copywriting your production?
Okay, so for the copyright, like I said, it's automatic, but if you want to take the step of registering, it depends on what exactly you're registering. Are you registering the script? Are you registering the production? So each of them have different steps, because if you're registering the script, that's a literary work. And if you're registering the production itself, that's an audiovisual work. So I think the main thing is that you can always go to Copyright Commission websites to just see what the expectations or what the requirements are for each of the production. You can try to register yourself, but it's advisable for you to work with a lawyer, an intellectual property or entertainment lawyer, to help you with the registration.
So let's go to Ikeja. You can unmute and ask your question.
Good afternoon. My name is Shegun Michael. So whenever I want to upload videos, I do see these two options: allow video remix. Don't allow video remixing only. Allow audio remixing only. But the third one doesn't appear always. Don't allow audio and video remixing. So I don't know why that happens, because I experienced that.
Okay. I don't have that much experience when it comes to that, but have you tried not ticking any of the boxes?
No, I do prefer don't allow both audio and video remixing.
Okay, the question is don't allow.
No, as in the option, because I don't see that always, that don't allow audio and video remixing. But these two options always come up: allow only audio remixing, allow only video remixing. I don't know why that happens sometimes.
Okay, so let me attempt to answer this. I think this happens. They're asking you if you want to allow someone else to remix your video content. So maybe if you're using TikTok, for example, or Instagram, and you have the original audio, when you upload it, they're asking you, you want someone else to be able to reuse the audio content that you've uploaded, right? So it's their own way of protecting your own content. So if you say allow, then it means someone else can remix your content, use the audio to create another video. But if you say don't allow, it means no other person can use that audio to create any other content. Does that make sense? So it's up to you to make a decision. If you want people to use your audio, allow. If you don't want people to use your audio, don't allow. That's just what it is.
Ikeja, are you fine? Okay, so we go to Bauchi. Bauchi, can you unmute and ask your question? Okay. Let's go to Maiduguri.
Good afternoon. My name is Sani and I am a music producer. I have my own label. I have started my own label, and my question is, how do I register as a trademark here in Nigeria?
Okay, if you want to register a trademark, it depends on what mark you're registering, but the first step for you to take is for you to carry out a search. Now, again, like I said about the copyright, it's advisable for you to engage a lawyer or at least an agent in trademark office. But you're supposed to carry out a search for them to ensure that the mark you want to register, whether it's your name, a catchphrase, brand color, whatever mark you want to register, you have to ensure that that mark is not already in existence, not going to contravene with someone else's mark. So after carrying out the search, the next step is now for you to start the production. Start the registration itself. They will need certain details like your name. If it's a logo, you're going to register the picture of the logo. If it's a name, the good things that name and logo can go together under one registration. But another thing for you to identify during the point of you providing this information is what class you want to register your mark under. You said you're a music producer, so most likely it's going to fall under the class of entertainment and cultural activities. So you're going to give in all those details. Now, generally, trademark is supposed to not take time. It's not supposed to take time, but in practical, trademark registration takes about 2 years. So after you file your trademark registration, you get, and it's accepted, you get a certificate, which is your acceptance certificate. Most times, that's what people show as their trademark registration certificate, because it takes a long time for you to get the actual certificate. But what that means upon them giving that acceptance certificate is that your registration has been accepted. No other person's registration with similar name or mark is going to be accepted within that period. Now, you have a wait period, which is what we call a publication period. So on a normal day, in theory, you're supposed to, after your registration, your marks is supposed to be published in what we call trademark journal. So that anybody, the general public, can go through it and check, oh, this mark, should we allow this mark to be registered? Should we fight against it? Oh, this name cannot go, it's similar to my name. Just in case during the search it was missed out, or let's say you want to register someone's name. A lot of people go to register brands like Fenty and all of this in Nigeria for the sake of monetization. But when you come to that publication point, they're supposed to check, and if nobody's fighting for your mark not to be registered, you pass that stage and you have, like, let's say 3 weeks to a month before your certificate is out. But because of backlog, when it comes to practical, because of Nigeria is not really a working society, because of backlog of works to be done, you have to wait like 6 to 9 months for your publication to be out. But the moment your mark is published in the journal, you have just a month or two and your certificate is out. And that way, your trademark is fully registered and active for the next 7 years.
Thank you.
So, American Corner, do you still have question, Ikeja? Do you still have question? All right, please go ahead.
Yes, please.
All right, thank you very much. I'm still on the video and audio remixing. My question is this: if allowed, is there a financial reward? And my second question is on the trademark for startups that don't have enough funding to get the services of a lawyer. On what platform can we register trademarks? Thank you very much.
Okay, I'll start with the last one. For those that don't have the money, trademark registration is not that expensive, but just say you want to run it on your own, you can just check the website. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I know if you type trademark office, you can find the website. You can also find their physical office here in Lagos and maybe walk in and try to use an agent within the office to help you with the registration yourself. Now, on the part of the video and audio remixing, I guess, because then for YouTube, I think that's more of a YouTube business. Like when you click, you find out. But yes, there's probably supposed to be monetization or some kind of financial gain to your content being remixed. Probably to be added, it will increase what your pay is going to be at the very end. I can't say for a fact. Like I said, it's YouTube business. Okay. Your question in the chat box: are there any precautions you recommend beginners should watch out to playing safe pending the time they can be registered? I don't know if this is copyright or trademark. If it's trademark, there's no precaution per se. Just go for the registration, because the more your brand grows bigger, the more popularity you have, the more in danger your branding is. Now, if you're talking about copyright, now for copyright, there are certain steps that you can take. You can ensure that everybody that you share your material with signs an NDA, because from the point of you sharing an idea to the point of the idea being in fixed form, just ensure that normally copyright doesn't protect ideas. So ensure that everybody that you share an idea with signs a non-disclosure agreement. That's an NDA. Also, steps that you can also take is that if it's a script, keep clear documentation. When you wrote the script, timing and dates, because that's what is going to use generally for copyright is who created it first. So when you have those proper details stated down and someone is trying to fight or say, oh no, I created this work first, you can bring out your evidence to show, and then it's an issue of whose date is earlier than which. So you can do that. You can take the steps that everyday YouTuber and content creator and filmmaker does, which is by watermarking your product or anything that you post, just to ensure that people cannot claim ownership over it. I think those are a few at the moment that you can take. Lastly, the normal documentation, you establishing chain of title and ensuring that everybody you do business with and everybody that contributes to your skits, down to the person holding the camera. Strange thing you might not know is that when it comes to videography and photography, whoever is behind the camera, whether it's the person that you engage to shoot or not, whoever is holding the camera and is taking the video is the owner of the copyright of that video. So you have to ensure that you have a paperwork with either who you employed or who is directly shooting the content saying, I'm transferring my intellectual property to you. Those documentation is what you're going to use to prove ownership till you run your copyright registration.
All right. So, Bauchi, you can unmute and ask your question now.
Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me? I want to ask on the aspect of licensing. It's as easy as sending an email. Yes, so do you wait for feedback or do you just go and use the content?
So I'm going to speak on the point of filmmakers and I'll speak from the point of skit makers. Now for filmmakers, you have more time on your hands, for example, post-production. So yes, you have to wait for feedback. That's a larger scale of production. Now for skit makers, because of the deliverables that they deal with and the fact that they are pouring and they are releasing skits and content back to back, mainly sometimes every day, sometimes every other day. Those guys cannot really, you can't exactly wait for feedback. So start as early as you can, send emails, but you sending an email and maybe a reminder can stand as a sufficient ground that at least you tried to communicate to the person to obtain permission or inform them that you want to use their music or their work in your production.
Okay.
Hope that's clear.
Ikeja, I thought you were raising your hand. Do you still have any question?
I think they dropped
I typed in the chat box already.
Okay.
Say what's the difference between copyright and reused content? Copyright is original content. Reused content is reused content, I guess. So basically, copyright is not a content. Copyright is the legal rights that you have backing the content that you created. And for you to have that legal right called copyright, your work has to be original and has to be new. Do you get? Why reused content, just as the name refers, is contents that are being reused. So those contents could be copyrightable, they could be pirated content, anything, but they are contents that are usually being reused. I don't know if there's a deeper part of your question. Maybe if you explain it, I understand where your question was coming. But if I've answered it, then cool.
All right. So I can see Oka, though nobody is raising hand, but I can see a lot of YouTubers in the house. I want you to say something. Oka.
Well, we don't have anything to say.
You should have something to say. I can see a lot of
we joined late because of the network, so we didn't really pick what as in
Wow.
was being said. So we're just watching and then trying to conclude with every other person.
We have one more
You have
question here.
opportunity to watch. You
I
can
can
watch
share.
everything on our YouTube channel.
Yes, ma, we'll do just that. Thank
Yeah,
you, ma.
great.
You have one more question here.
Okay, Keja, go ahead.
Hello. My question is basically focused on, we're talking about like digital trends, AI, and the risks it poses for copyrights and anything like IP centered. How do we tackle like these issues, like seeing that there are like new challenges every day that poses risks to maybe YouTubers or even content producers? So how can we tackle it like legally? Like how do we go about, the threats that, maybe AI poses, to content production, stuff like that?
Okay, I'm going to answer this as a lawyer, and I'll also answer it as truthfully as possible as someone in the industry. So as a lawyer, I would say whatever threat that you get to face, if you can make a suit out of it, if you have your evidence and you can sue the person, sue the person. Now, in reality, now speaking as an everyday person, I'm not so sure how that would go. But that is why the contract part is being emphasized a lot in the film industry. Now, if the issue is the AIs and every other thing that is coming up every day, truth about it is that challenges are not going to finish. And I don't think we're even there yet to fight it, because we are still struggling with pirates and piracy, and new problems are coming up. So the bit I can say is do the best you can. Use the tips that you have when you want to protect your intellectual property, the registrations, the ambition, the chain of titles. Do the best you can for yourself to protect your content and protect your content. But about these issues, I can't tell you for a fact now how to handle it, because down to the ones that we can see, the pirates, we are still dealing with it, not to talk of AI. So when we get there, we'll have information on how we can handle it.
Window on America Mina, are you trying to ask a question? Do you have a question? You can unmute and ask your question. Go ahead now.
Yes, I have a question. Okay, my
Go
question
ahead.
is, for example, you have a content you want. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My question is, maybe you have a content you want to, you want to post on YouTube, and then there's some content that are copyright. So how will you know that the content you want to publish is like is being copyright? Like sometimes if you post a content that is not allowed on YouTube, they they will probably flag your account or maybe restrict it. So how will you know that the content is not something that is a free content that you can also use it and post? So that's my question.
I think the best way to answer the question is assume that any content or any material that you want to include in your content that was not originally created by you is owned by someone and is not free. Now, except if, for example, for the music, artwork, whatever the content might be, you went online and you saw that it's on a free to license website. We have some music that they are not like, there's no license fee, there's fee, it's free to use, except if you're obtaining those contents and those materials from sites that are free to use, assume that they are owned by someone, because like I said, copyright is automatic. You don't even need to register it for the copyright to be activated. So once it doesn't belong to you and it belongs to someone else, and it's not clear that as it belongs to someone else, it's free for you to use, then there's copyright active on that material. And if you post it or if you use it, you have a problem.
So do we have further questions? Okay, window on America Mina, do you have question?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
I'd
Go
like to
ahead.
know if, yeah, okay, ma, if you are reacting on the video, like doing a reactional video on a content that is having a copyright already, is there a way you can also work with it by using it, by modifying it to your own tune? Like they will not flag your account down if you are reacting to a video that already has a copyright.
Okay, I'm not sure what you mean by when you modify it, but generally, if you are reviewing a production, you can fall under fair use. So under copyright, we have what we call fair use, which is a small loophole, not loophole, but a small exception to using copyrighted materials or materials that belong to other people without we entering problem. For example, what's the word, like casting news, reporting in news or live events. If you're doing that, there's no copyright issues around it if you're reviewing a content. But the moment, the issue with that is that you're supposed to do all of that without any commercial value being attributed to it. And that is where social media kind of mess things up, because the moment you review that content and you post it on a platform that is monetizable, the commercial value of it gets triggered. So it becomes a thing of, with the person that you're reviewing the content, the original work, will the person flag it as an issue or not? But in normal day, if you're just reviewing a content, you're not supposed to have a problem with it. As far as you don't touch the original content, you don't try to modify it, you're just giving your opinion and reviewing the work that it is. But the moment it hits a commercial platform and you start gaining from it, something changes. I can't exactly tell you for a fact that you're in the clear or not. I think that one is not left to discretion of who owns the original content that you're reviewing.
American Spaces Nigeria, you can unmute and ask your question.
All right, thank you very much. I really appreciate a lawyer in the house and the lecture you've given to us. At the American Spaces, we had a session where we did like a jazz appreciation month. And so while the program was going on, we featured some videos, not all, but in parts. And of course, this goes directly on our Facebook page as well as on YouTube channel. Before we knew it, it was flagged by Facebook first and later by YouTube. Now, the question is, this fair use, what is fair in the use? How do we quantify the fair use? And then the second question, which is a follow-up question to the issue of review, I've seen quite a number of people reviewing content, and all they did was just to put their picture or their video within the video they are reviewing. They don't necessarily have to say anything. They will put it from the beginning to the end. And they are there, and I think, I don't know whether they are flagged or whatever, but I see a lot of that. So my thinking is that if that has been flagged, then those content creators would not have been, dabbling into that, especially on Facebook. So I would like your thoughts on these two issues. Thank you.
Okay, starting with the one of fair use. Sincerely, like I said, the scope of things have changed because of the presence of social media monetization. Now, the content was placed on Facebook. Facebook is monetizable. The content was placed on YouTube, is monetizable. It takes out non-commercial purposes, which is the caveat that fair use falls within. So in as much as you have 3 or 4 will I say exceptions to copyright, at the end of the day, it depends in a non-commercial manner. So commercial manner, in a non-commercial manner, so I think the major problem is that maybe our legislation has not really caught up with real time of social media. But back in the day, we did not have so much of Facebook paying you. So if you put this content on Facebook, it was it's not a problem. The same way, if you put the content on Instagram and your page is not yet monetizable, you don't have any problem. But the moment your page becomes monetizable, you have a problem because it crosses from non-commercial to commercial. That is just it. Now, the second question had to do with, yeah, that's the fair use one. Second
one is doing the video reacting to.
Okay, the reaction. The second one, I think most people that just put their face there is more like a reaction video than a review video. But again, still the fair use thing that I explained, if the video, see the fair use thing that I explained, if the video is going to be posted on a platform that has monetization involved, it no longer is fair use. But then the thing about flagging this content is that most times when the contents get flagged, they don't take it down. Instead, what happens is that they transfer the income that is supposed to come to you to the original creators of the work. So sometimes when people's account get flagged, they continue doing it because they're trying to gain popularity from it and then use that popularity and maybe launch a different product, not because they enjoy making something that someone else is gaining from. So we realize that a lot of these review and reaction videos have more audience than you creating original content sometimes. So they want to review it, even as they are flagging it. At first, they are not banning the account or taking it down, and maybe it's just a thing of telling you that, okay, you're not going to be able to monetize this content for this reason. They're continuing it and use it to build up their channel or their brand, and then use it to launch a different product. But will it get flagged? You'll most likely get flagged. Like I said, is mainly left to the discretion of the person that owns the content. Now, mind you, it's possible for you to create a review video now, for you to create a skit and put a copyrighted work in it, and it's never flagged. Why? Because the thing about copyright and intellectual property is that it's one for the law to protect you, and there's an aspect of your own enforcement. You have to try to put steps to protect yourself. So for example, the music guys, you have them sign up with international publishers or certain companies. Those are the companies that get to flag down those contents on YouTube, not them personally, because they've taken that steps. You know, you cannot be every day, everywhere checking who is using my content or not. So you take those steps. So it's possible for you to deal with a content or deal with whatever where the person is not trying to enforce their own copyright protection. So that way you get away with it. It's not an automatic thing. If you don't enforce it or take care of your work, nobody will take care of it for you.
Mina, do you still have question?
Yes, ma'am, I have a question. Can you hear me? Okay. My question is it's regarding accounts, foreign accounts and Nigerian account. I don't know whether if there's any difference or monetization like features that I heard somebody saying that foreign accounts they do pay more than Nigerian accounts. So I want to ask to confirm whether if that is true. That's my question.
National accounts, how they do payments.
Okay, so I think that works because of, so yes, there's a higher payment for people who, let me put it this way, if you have more viewers from outside Nigeria, you get paid more, right? If you have more viewers from outside Nigeria, you get paid more. I think especially European countries. So if you have more viewers, if most of your audience are in European countries, you get paid more money. I can't explain why, but I think it's proven that if most of your audience are from outside Nigeria, you make more money. Does that answer your question? Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir, but I was also doing research about this today, and I saw that if like maybe somebody got the account created for you, and when it comes to when it comes to like payment, you have to verify your tax and some other stuff. So I want to be clarified on the stuff because I have somebody that is willing to open the account for me, but I want to get like
Maybe
have
I don't
enough.
even understand.
You say?
So what's the question?
You say?
What's the question? I don't think I understand your question. Repeat the question again?
Okay, my question now is like when it comes to payment, like for example, payment, how like according to the research I did yesterday, they say that you have to have tax, your payment tax, and some other document before your money will be paid. So I don't know whether like if I don't know like must I have the
Yes.
like the
So for YouTube, for example, if YouTube is going to monetize your page or your channel, at the point of monetization, you have to put in all of these details. Your tax ID, you have to put it there. Your bank, because there has to be a way they'll pay you. Right? There's a process for payment. You have to put in at the point where the channel becomes monetized. They will ask you, and you put it there. If you don't put it there, your channel cannot be monetized. So you have to have all these things ready because they assume that you're paying tax as well. So your tax ID, I believe they ask for, if they will ask for your, and I doubt, but there has to be a form of identification as well that you're the actual person, right? For you to start your YouTube channel, you don't need it. When your channel is being monetized, you must collect.
Okay, so now what's your advice? What's your advice?
You can choose
Is
to
it better?
you can choose to do it when it has been monetized, or you can choose to do it and keep it now. It's fine.
Sorry, so I didn't get it clearly.
You can choose to get these informations and keep them now, or wait till your channel is monetized and then you go and get whatever you decide. Fine. But I think it's advisable that you get your tax ID already and keep it.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So if you go to a bank, if you go to walk through how to go about getting your tax ID.
Okay. I also wanted to tell our brother from Window on America, Mina, you can also reach out to our facilitator today. She has dropped a social media handle on the chat box. So you can take it, you can reach out or ask legal questions. Mandy, am I right? Yes. So she's willing to attend to your queries when you send it to her. Thank you. I'd like to appreciate Window on America, Gombe. Hello, Gombe. You did not hear any question, not say anything. Hello, Window on America, Gombe. Sokoto, Maiduguri, Enugu, Oka, Uyo. No question from Uyo today. Maiduguri, we did not hear from you. Oh, okay, yeah, that's true.
Ask questions, please. We did.
Okay, yeah, I just like to hear from you more.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So we like to, I don't know, I just want Oka, I want to hear from somebody from Oka. Can you help us to appreciate our facilitator today? Miss Amanda Uzuagba. Did I get the pronunciation well? Good, great. So let somebody from Oka Window on America help us to appreciate Miss Amanda Uzuagba. All the YouTubers in the house, they are just giggling. Pick one person to help us. Thank you. All right.
Thank you very much, Miss Amanda, for Thank you very much, Ms. Amanda, for your help and for exposition to the legal side of YouTube and everything. Thank you very, very much, and I really appreciate you. We hope to see you more.
A round of applause to our facilitator today. Thank you so much. Thank you, Oka. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ms. Amanda Uzuagba. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your time. Thank you to all our audience in all our spaces. We want to ask that you join us on Thursday for Speak with a Diplomat by 10 a.m. It's going to be another wonderful time. Benin City Window on America is also good to see you all. Till we meet on Thursday, I say bye to everyone. Have a nice evening. Thank you.